Hey, this is John Martinez with Midwest Revenue Group. We've been training salespeople, sales teams across the country for many years now. One of the reasons why a lot of companies come to us for help is because they have sales teams, and it seems like every person on the sales team is doing things a little differently. Their sales process is a little different, their approach is a little different, their strategy is a little different. When it comes to sales, this really does present a pretty big challenge. Number one, when everyone's selling kind of a different way, usually that means everyone's speaking a different language. And what I mean by that is you might have some people on your sales team talking about a prospect, and you're in a sales meeting talking about your prospects, and maybe to one salesperson, a prospect means, hey, this is a company I shot a cold email to, or a business I dropped my card at. To another one of your sales team members, when they say prospect, that might mean, hey, we've had initial contact, they're qualified, they're interested in learning more, and they have budget. If you're not speaking the same language, that can get pretty sloppy because it's hard to have a conversation at all when you have different terminology and you're using different words for different things. No one's on the same page at all. The other reason why not having a systemized process for sales can really hurt a sales team is because you just can't track anything. How do you track or measure something when one salesperson might have 4 steps to his sales process and the approach is all relationship based? Another person has 5 or 6 steps to their sales process and it's all value based. You just can't formulate a plan. You just can't scale. You just can't build. Those are the challenges that not having a uniform approach to sales can present to really any company out there. If this sounds familiar to you, really the best thing I can tell you is you just need to get everyone speaking the same language and using the same process. Put yourself back into that sales role, but literally think of if your team was all speaking a different language, not a different sales language like we've been talking about, but imagine if they all spoke a different language: German, Spanish, French, Latin, and you all get together to formulate your strategy to gain a customer to do whatever, and you're literally all speaking a different language. Now that's what happens when you're not all on the same page. You describe prospects and where people are in their funnel, and even with just a prospect, what does prospect mean? Does it mean they're qualified, unqualified? How much contact? Have you identified all the decision makers? What's that even mean? So if you don't get on the same page there and speak the same sales language, it's just as bad as if you literally spoke a different language. That reminds me of a story. It was actually one of the first clients that I ever worked with. They wanted to increase sales and they didn't have any problems anywhere else. They had a top of the line product. It was best in the industry. They sold these telephone equipment enclosures. They were the best at it. Theirs were the highest quality, the easiest to maintain. But even when they were that freaking good, they didn't have the sales numbers they wanted to have to grow and to get to where they wanted to go to and to formulate. So one of the first things they did is they brought in a sales manager, and the sales manager quickly realized we're all speaking different languages. So the CEO and the sales manager were referred to me to kind of put some simple processes in place, and that's all we did, right? These guys were veterans, they were pros, but they lacked that systemized sales process, that common language. So really that's all we did is we spent about 12 weeks putting together a step-by-step sales process, making sure we were talking the same language. What happened was they ended up really increasing revenue to the point where they even landed their largest customer ever. And this biggest customer, when I say biggest customer, this customer alone was worth somewhere right in the range of $250 million. So that's what, 1, 2, 3, 4 years worth of revenue in a single customer. And all of that was just from putting a system in place, putting a common language in place. The other way to look at it is this. Imagine you were a coach, not a sales coach, but a coach on a football team. And all of your players literally had a different playbook, because this is like what really happens. And you got on the field, the quarterback has his playbook, the running back has his playbook, the linemen have their playbooks, and so on. Let's say the quarterback just goes, hey, let's pick first play on page 1. So everyone obviously has different playbooks. Every individual, all 11 people on that offense are literally running a different play. It sounds silly when you think about it in those terms, but that's the reality of the situation when you have a sales team and you have no real unified, systematic way to look at sales and no sales process that everyone sticks to drive their prospects through the sales funnel, and no common language to talk about what's going on in your business. So hey, if all of this sounds pretty familiar to you, you felt that frustration, you felt stuck, and you've almost given up, here's the first step you can take. Just start naming your process, your prospects, and start developing a common language around your sales process. Start with, what's a lead? Is a lead any name and number that comes into the business? Is a lead a name and number that comes into a business that was then qualified somehow? If we're talking about qualifications, what is a qualification? Do they have budget? Have you talked to X amount of the decision makers? Do they have a need? Are they your target clientele? Do they kind of fit into that mold of what your perfect client is? What's a lead? Start there, right? After that, go to the stages in your sales process. What's the one thing we have to accomplish for them to get from stage 1 to stage 2? Let's say stage 1's a lead. What's stage 2? Stage 2 is qualified, okay? What do we need to know to see if they're qualified? But just think, what are the 3 or 4 things that need to happen for a prospect to become a customer? Put that in order, and now you've already, just from doing that, you're gonna have a roadmap to take those leads or take those prospects and start systematically pushing them through that sales process, right? Where they're in stage 1, you'll now know what has to happen to get them to stage 2. Now you can put a game plan together. Now you can put the pieces in place and figure it out. Once they get to stage 2, now you know what has to happen to get to stage 3, and you can put that plan together. And if you fizzle out, you know exactly why they fizzled out. There'll be no more pipeline meetings or sales meetings where it's what happened to this customer. With that being said, if you found some value in this video and you want to share it with someone else who you think can find some value as well, please go ahead and share it. This is John Martinez with Midwest Revenue Group. See you soon.